Hey, welcome back to Off the Beaten Couch. This is the third episode in the series From Chaos to Calm. I'm Bonnie Adams, your companion on this journey through the realities of living with addiction in the family. If you've made it this far, chances are you've seen how addiction doesn't just impact the individual, it can tear whole families into pieces. Today, we're digging into the wars that erupt inside families, why people take sides, how old conflicts get recycled and amplified, why helping means different things to different people, the emotional fallout from family division, and what research says about healing and what actually works in the real world. Make yourself comfortable. If you need to move while you're listening, do it. This episode is all about real life. Here's something research is brutally clear about. Addiction is a family disease, not just metaphorically. The emotional, financial, and relational fallout are measurable and repeatable. Studies from the National Institute on Drug Abuse show elevated stress, chronic anxiety, and conflict among spouses, siblings, and parents when addiction is in the mix. So what does that look like at home? Picture a family dinner, years into the struggle. One person wants tough love, another pleads for another chance. Someone's going through your loved one's room for pills, while another quietly hands over cash. Words get sharp, eyes roll, tears well up, and suddenly you're not fighting addiction, you're fighting each other. This isn't dysfunction for the sake of drama. It's what happens when fear, grief, and hope collide. Let's talk about why helping is so divisive. A parent might see every relapse as a call for more support, while a sibling sees it as betrayal or wasted energy. Spouses, grandparents, and even kids can end up in opposing camps. The enabler is often the person who can't tolerate seeing the suffering, so they give money, they cover up, they make excuses. The enforcer sets rules, boundaries, and cuts off resources, tries to motivate through consequences, which doesn't always work. The peacemaker tries to smooth the tension, plays mediator, avoids conflict for quiet's sake. And it's not static. People switch roles, sometimes daily, especially when the stress flares up. According to psychologist Dr. Robert Myers, families naturally gravitate toward these patterns because they turn anxiety about the unknown into action or avoidance. Nobody wants chaos, but everybody handles it differently, shaped by their own history and personality. Old family wounds feed the chaos. Did one sibling get all the attention growing up? Did one parent bail out the other? These narratives get revived in addiction storm. Let me tell you about a scenario that's seen commonly. We'll call this Emily's family. Emily's brother struggled with opioids for years. Dad locked up all the valuables and cut off contact for months, convinced tough love was the only way. Mom snuck food to him and quietly paid his phone bill. Emily, caught in the crossfire, spent every week hearing both sides. Dad raged that Mom's babying made things worse. Mom warned that Dad's cruelty pushed her son closer to death. Nobody asked how Emily was doing. Family events became battlefields. Thanksgiving meant dodging arguments and pretending that nothing was wrong. Birthdays required secret negotiations. Who would show up? What stories would be told? But here's the reality. Most families living through addiction have stories like this. Sometimes day-to-day help is weaponized. You gave him $100? Why? Are you blind?
Dude. What are you doing?
Sometimes boundaries are broken out of desperation. She called from jail. I know I said last time was the last, but how can I not go? And sometimes the person struggling with addiction learns to exploit these splits. They know who to call for money, who to avoid, and how to manipulate the cracks. Research backs this up. Studies in family process journals show that family division not only blocks recovery, but escalates stress for everyone. Lateral aggression, silence, alliances, and betrayal all make healing harder. Addiction sets off endless cycles of hope and disappointment. When families split, it adds new layers. There's grief. You're mourning old family connections that feel lost. There's guilt and wondering if your way is hurting more than helping. There's resentment towards relatives for not doing enough or for overstepping. You feel hope and helplessness, believing your approach is right, and feeling powerless when it doesn't work. Rifts drain energy from the real challenge. You may realize you're spending more time arguing about how to help than actually moving toward recovery. Dr. Lisa Najovitz, an expert in trauma and addiction, notes that divided families tend to get stuck in repetitive cycles. conflict over approach. Intervention, boundaries, support often leaves the underlying trauma and needs untouched. You're hurting, and so is your family. Everyone is watching each other, wondering who's going to flinch, who's going to rescue, and who's going to give up. Now let's shift toward what does make a difference, according to research and lived experience. Evidence shows that open, even if ugly, communication reduces divisiveness. Don't aim for perfect dialogue. Go for honesty over politeness. Here's an example. Agree on a time to air concerns, even if it gets heated, rather than backstabbing or venting to outsiders. It is nearly impossible for families to act as one, but aligning around one or two non-negotiables, like we don't pay bail, no substances in the house, gives everyone clarity. Research by Dr. William Miller, who is the founder of motivational interviewing, shows that ambiguous boundaries breed manipulation. Expect some boundaries to be broken. That's reality, not failure. Sometimes you need outside help just to mediate. Family addiction counselors, Al-Anon, and Smart Recovery for Family and Friends can help families find common ground or just vent in a safe context. Studies consistently report better outcomes for families that seek outside help, even if just one person goes. And let go of winning. Getting everyone to agree isn't the goal. Accept that family division is normal. Try to focus less on what's right and more on how do I take care of myself in this mess. Make space to talk about your lives, not just their crisis. This keeps resentment from poisoning every interaction. If consensus isn't possible, stick to what protects your sanity. If others undermine your boundary, you're heartless, I would have helped him. Let that be their problem. Let's get practical. When you're in the thick of family division, have a neutral phase ready when arguments heat up. Try, we see this differently. I'm doing what feels necessary for me. Don't escalate. Step out when the fight gets ugly. Go for a walk, run an errand, leave the room. Silence can be stronger than shouting. Keep your expectations grounded. People rarely change sides overnight. Aim for less harm rather than perfect unity. Vent somewhere safe. If you can't trust family not to replay your words, journal, call a support line, or talk with a counselor. Track what's working and what isn't. Write quick notes about family blow-ups, splits, and small wins. Reflection breeds improvement. And when decisions come, whether to intervene, lend money, or show up for court, pause and ask yourself, is this about supporting my loved one or about keeping my peace with my family? Addiction doesn't just divide families. It tests every connection and belief about what it means to help and love. If your family is split, if you feel in the middle of a civil war, know you're not alone. Evidence shows division is hard to heal, but with honest conversation, clear boundaries, and outside support, things can shift even slightly. If you're tired of fighting or just want to get out of the crossfire long enough to breathe, take one step today, whether that's a conversation, a support call, or just marking what you will not do anymore. See you next episode. Bring your hardest stories, your wildest questions, and if you're in the middle of family chaos, know that there is space for you.